I think AI gives you the ability to own your zone of genius. And the tedious tasks that take away from you being able to shine and show up as fully as you want, you can automate those things. I think it also depends on your community and what you authentically want to provide.
I'm Jenna Kutcher, your host of the Goal Digger podcast. I escaped the corporate world at the age of 23 with nothing more than a $300 camera from Craigslist and a dream. Now I'm running a 7-figure online business that feels even better than it looks, all from my house in small town Minnesota with my family. Here, we value time as our currency. We mix the woo and the work, and we are in the pursuit of building businesses that give us the freedom to live lives that we love. I've always loved turning big goals into reality, and I'm here to help you do the same. This isn't just a peek behind the curtain. Come along with me and my guests as we tear the whole curtain down. Every week, we tackle practical, no-fluff marketing strategies and host honest discussions on what works and what doesn't. Join me and my expert guests for actionable insights to help you grow your dream business with confidence. Pull up a seat and get ready to be challenged, inspired, and empowered. This is the Goal Digger podcast. Imagine this. What if you could save hours of your time, cut out repetitive tasks, and finally focus on what matters most in your business, all without having to hire a massive team? I mean, that sounds like a dream, right? Well, the good news is it's not just a dream. The secret is already at your fingertips. What am I talking about? AI. Today, we're diving into the world of artificial intelligence with someone who knows exactly how to make it work for entrepreneurs just like you. Aprelle Duany is an AI strategist, entrepreneur, and advocate for sustainable business growth. Her journey spans corporate IT auditing, launching a luxury fashion brand in Africa, and now empowering small businesses to use AI to reclaim their time and freedom. Aprelle's SMART framework is revolutionizing how entrepreneurs think about workflows and efficiency. And today, she is sharing it with us and spilling her secrets. From the tools you need to get started to the mindset shifts required to embrace AI, this episode is packed with actionable insights. If you've ever thought, AI sounds amazing, but where do I even start? Or maybe you've dabbled with it, but you're not sure if you're using it to its full potential, this conversation is for you. Aprelle will break it all down, sharing strategies, real-world examples, and easy wins to implement today. So grab your notebook and get ready to unlock the power of AI in your business. Aprelle, welcome to the Goal Digger podcast. Growing a business isn't for the faint of heart. It's a whole lot of everything: building an audience, nurturing leads, managing channels, tracking metrics, and juggling all the moving pieces of your strategy. And let's not forget those late nights, long days, and working weekends. Sound familiar? Sometimes it feels like you're wishing for just one thing to make it all a little bit easier. Well, meet Breeze, HubSpot's brand new collection of AI tools built specifically for marketers just like you. With Breeze, attracting the right audience, increasing leads, and turning those leads into loyal customers just got faster and, dare I say, easier than ever before. Imagine less stress and more success, more wins and fewer all-nighters. With Breeze, you're not just keeping up, you're staying ahead. And pretty soon, your business is going to have a lot to celebrate. Check out Breeze at HubSpot.com/marketers to learn more. That's HubSpot.com/marketers. I'm so excited for this conversation today, and I want to dive off the deep end first and ask a question that I think a lot of people might be asking. Now, if someone isn't using AI in their business yet, give us a convincing argument of why they should consider it in 60 seconds or less.
Yes, this is my most favorite question to answer. Number one, if you're a business owner, you're already working hard. Do you want to work harder or do you want to work smarter? So if you like making things harder, ice skating uphill, you want to keep doing things the way you're doing it. If you are tired of being the chief everything officer, it's time to start using AI. I think for business owners, especially for women, we like doing all the things because we think that there is some badge of honor at the end of the day. And we're actually getting further behind because we're not using the tools. I wouldn't do long math with paper and pencil anymore. I'll use a calculator or I'll use Google Sheets, So AI is just a tool to help us to make our processes and make progress in our business faster. So if you're not using it, please start using it today, right now.
Yes. Okay, this conversation is going to be just so powerful. And I have to quick fill people in on how we connected, but I run my LinkedIn and you had left a comment on a post and I curiously clicked over to your profile and I was like, oh, okay, we've got to bring this conversation on air. And one of the things that I noticed that you said, and it just really stuck with me right away, is you say, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you design.
Yes.
Talk me through that thought because I think that lays a beautiful foundation for where we're going to go in this conversation.
Yeah, I think we have grown up with this concept where, if I'm a good person, if I do all the things, I'm going to get the gold at the end of the tunnel. I'm going to get all the things that I want. And so for me, I was a stay-at-home mom for a very long time. And as I was transitioning back into work life, I was doing a lot of different things. I was doing all the stuff. It was very hard work, and I wasn't getting any of the results. And so at the same time, I was in a PhD program and I was doing research on the differences between men and women in terms of entrepreneurship. And so
Mm.
the data doesn't lie. The data is showing how men are progressing very quickly using the tools that they need to use. And women, we're kind of like scraping along. We're trying to do it all on our own and we're struggling. And so we have this idea that because I'm a good person, I deserve X, Y, and Z. Whereas we're looking at other people who are successful and they're intentional about the success because they've designed it. They're not just doing things for the sake of doing it. It's an intentional activity that they're doing. And so when I started having that aha moment, like I'm burnt out, I'm overwhelmed, and I'm working hard, I'm doing all the things, I'm not getting what I deserve, the wellness, the wealth, all the things that I wanted. I had to just be very responsible and be very intentional. Like I have to design the outcome that I want. And so that was just a big pivotal moment for me. I was also just having a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. And I was like, this has to break somehow. And I was like, oh, actually, I have a design background. And so if I designed it in the way that
Yes.
I know how to utilize design as a tool to create a system, then I started seeing a lot of shifts. So you don't get what you deserve, you get what you design.
Mm, I love
Yeah,
that for so many reasons. And I also just feel like if you don't sit down and intentionally envision or design your life, you don't even really know what you're moving towards, right? Like
exactly.
it's like a moving target. And I think so many of us feel that when it's
Mhm.
like we work all day and you end the day and you're like, what did I even get done? And so it's like when you have that clarity, that
Yeah.
actually moves you in the right direction and helps you make progress. So I
Yep.
love that. One thing that you said, and I think we have to go there, especially on the Gold Digger podcast, is that women are slower to adopt some of these things, these tools, these technologies. And one thing that I've noticed, and I'm curious if you've noticed this as well, is that I feel like, especially in female centric communities and spaces, AI almost has been demonized. Like it's almost been looked at in a very negative light.
Yeah.
And why is that? And why are we doing that? It's really fascinating to me.
Yeah, so first of all, I feel that AI is a godsend for women, okay? Because we need the help. We need to bridge
Yes,
the
we do.
gaps. Even though there's a lot of male hands involved in the creation of AI, I feel like it's a tool meant for women. Now, why we're hesitant to use it? If we think about the disparity in terms of STEM, and so like when I started my college degree, I was in engineering. I was the only Black person and I was the only woman. And so even that already set a standard where, okay, this is going to be a lonely journey. I don't see a lot of women talking about math. I don't see a lot of women talking about science. And even in that space, I didn't see myself represented. And so now, fast forward, however many years later, we're having those same dynamics in terms of women not getting involved in STEM, not getting involved in science and math. And so it's already like, oh, science and math are scary. And now we have AI, which people don't even understand. It's like it's taking over the world. And so I think we have to bridge that gap and look at math and science again as tools and not something to be afraid of. I'm so lucky that both of my daughters love engineering and they love math. And so we use AI, we talk about it all the time. And so I feel they will, be able to be ahead of the game. So that's one. We need to have more women in tech, just period. And I think as we have more women in tech and people that look like us are invited into the conversation, then it won't be something that's demonized. It'll be something that's just common because everyone is using technology. Secondly, I also want to say when I do talk with my clients, one of the challenges they have with incorporating AI is like I'm not a tech person. I'm not an engineer. I'm a designer. I like to draw. I like art. I had to explain AI to my mom who has a bakery, and I was just like, oh my God, what? And
Oh,
so I think the terminology that's also used when people are talking about AI, it's very engineer centric, prompt
yes.
engineering. It really is just communicating with the tools. If you've used Amazon, Alexa, if you've used any of those tools, you're already using AI. And
Yeah.
so I do like to bridge the gap in terminology and let people know, hey, you're already using artificial intelligence in one way or the other, regardless of if you have a tech background, even if you're not a techie. I feel like we're all techie. We don't all have engineering degrees, right? You're using Amazon. You're not going to, you wanted to know what you've ordered in the last 5 orders, right? You're not trying to go through the whole ecosystem of Amazon. So that's techie. So it's just really breaking down those barriers, I think, in terminology, and then also realizing that it is a tool. And then lastly, we live in a very fear-driven society. And so it's kind of like,
Girl.
ah, oh my God. And I'm just like, oh, we can't just continue to fall into fear as a default and then also want change because
Yeah.
it's going to keep you stuck. It's going to keep you in a scarcity mindset. And for the people that are moving ahead very quickly, they're not afraid to break things. They're not afraid to, dive in and say, okay, maybe I don't know everything, but I'm going to use it to the best of my ability. And I think in women-oriented communities, we need to have those conversations. We don't have to have it all figured out. We don't have to be fluent in everything artificial intelligence, but we do have to start tapping into using the
Yeah.
tools.
Oh my gosh. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. And I think it's so interesting because it's like every time there's a shift or a change, like when Instagram dropped Instagram stories, everyone's grumbling. When the Facebook timeline came out decades ago, everyone, and it's like
Exactly.
that resistance. But I sense that women are slightly more resistant, especially when it comes to tech. And I
Yeah.
believe that a lot of it comes from, and I think it's interesting when you're talking about STEM and science and math, like, I think a lot of us have these deep seated beliefs that were either handed to us by someone else or
Yeah.
something that was inner, saying that we're not qualified for it, we're not
Right.
good at it, we're never going to be successful in those areas. And I think
Right.
that that often holds us back. And it's just, you don't see it as commonly in male
Hmm.
dominated fields like that. And so
Right.
that's why I'm really excited to just keep talking about this
Yeah.
because I agree. I think that AI was created for women. And today we're going to talk about some of the interesting ways we've been using it
Yes.
because
Yes.
now, like, ChatGPT is like a bestie in my life and it's
Yeah.
like the place I want to go. And it's funny too because I'll notice areas in my business where I'm like, man, I wish AI could like sort my Apple photos so I could type in like a
Right.
very, very specific thing that I need to find and it could find it for me. And so it's interesting too, where you start to see
Yeah.
more opportunities for it to add ease to our lives.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's really what it's meant to do. Is that's
Uh
really what it
huh.
comes down to.
Okay. So, what is one AI tool that you would argue that like every small business owner should be using right now and why?
Yeah. So I'm reluctant on saying a specific tool
Yeah.
because everyone is like in a different place in their business. But the one
Yes.
go-to that I do always share is ChatGPT. So why I love ChatGPT is that I feel they're ahead of the game. They're always increasing their capabilities. They're, allowing you to create your own custom GPTs. And it's kind of the best all-in-one tool. So whether you're trying to create content, whether you're, trying to create connect your graphics to Canva, it's kind of the best all-in-one tool. Now they do have that shift of going from $20 to $200. And so depending on where you are as a business owner, that may be a deterrent. But even the free version is so powerful.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
was literally using the free one up until like a couple weeks ago and I was like, okay, I should probably pay. I'm using this so much. Like,
exactly.
let's
I
go.
mean, it's amazing. So that
Yeah.
would be the go-to. Like if you're just starting and you just need a go-to tool, use ChatGPT. It can help you in terms of understanding your voice and your tone, so you're not
Yeah.
having to start from a blank sheet every single time. So
Yeah.
that's been my go-to. I use ChatGPT for free. And so when it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you've reached your limit, I'm like, okay, do I really want to upgrade now? Or do I, so you can
Yes.
get a lot done for free. And even the conversation where people are like, "Oh, now it's more expensive." I'm like, we want to make millions of dollars from using these tools. I can
Yeah.
pay $20 a month, or even $200 a month. So
Yeah.
it's definitely worthwhile.
I'm pretty sure that living in Minnesota means you kind of have to love winter. And honestly, winter is one of my favorite seasons. Cozy nights, fluffy socks, all the sweaters, but I could do without the dryness that it brings. My daughter has the driest hands of all time. I'm talking like painful dry skin. And so every night after she's asleep, I sneak into her room with Osea's Underia algae body butter and I lather her up. It has become a sweet little evening ritual, even if she doesn't remember it in the morning. And I love knowing that I'm using something that works so well for her skin. This body butter has been a game changer for our family. It is rich and creamy, but it absorbs instantly. No greasy residue, just soft, smooth, deeply hydrated skin. And the scent, oh, I wish you could smell it. It is this fresh, natural blend of grapefruit, lime, cypress, and a hint of mango mandarin. It's like this little burst of sunshine in the winter. Now, what makes it even better is knowing that Osea's products are clean, vegan, cruelty-free, and made of organic ingredients. It feels so good to support a family-owned company that truly represents the natural world while giving us skincare that actually works. If you are ready to give your skin or someone you love's a New Year glow up, now is the perfect time. Osea is offering Gold Digger listeners 10% off of your first order site-wide. Just use the code GOLDDIGGER at OseaMalibu.com. That's OSEA Malibu.com with the code GOLDDIGGER for 10% off. I promise you, your skin is about to thank you. You know I love finding tools that make running a business even easier. And so I'm so excited to share with you a tool that I swear by, which is Gusto. It's an all-in-one payroll, benefits, and HR platform. And I love it so much, I recently made my entire team switch to it. With Gusto, payroll is fast and super simple, whether you're handling W-2s or 1099s, but that's just the beginning. You can offer health benefits, 401k plans, and so much more, all tailored to nearly any budget. Their software is super simple. It's all online. You can access it from anywhere, and you can run unlimited payroll for one monthly price with no hidden fees. And taxes? Gusto takes care of those too, automatically filing and paying them across all 50 states. Businesses save on average $2,600 and 48 hours a year by switching. No wonder 4 out of 5 businesses say Gusto is worth it. Here's the best part. Gusto is giving you Gold Diggers 3 months for free when you run your first payroll. Head to gusto.com/golddigger to snag this offer. That's gusto.com/golddigger. Don't miss out. Let's each give a couple examples of how we've used it, maybe expected and unexpected, because I was recently explaining ChatGPT to my mother-in-law and she edits newsletters for some
Ooh,
organization she's in.
okay.
And I was like, oh, you could totally bring in, because people are sending her articles and they're not really proofread. And I was like, okay, so
Mm,
here's what you do. And I was explaining it and I was like, it can help you. Like your eyes will be the ultimate be all
yes.
end all, but it can totally help assist you in sentence structure and all these things. So I was trying to explain it to her, but then I was telling her some of the funny ways. So I'll give you a couple funny ways I've used it, or just maybe unique. When we were doing Thanksgiving,
Oh,
Drew and I were hosting, and we were initially going to host. It was going to be 6 adults and 2 kids. Well, it very quickly turned into like 12 adults and like 10 kids.
ooh.
And so we went on to ChatGPT and we said, here are the things that we want to have for Thanksgiving dinner.
Mhm.
These are the allergies we have. This
Ooh,
is the order we want to serve them. Make a grocery list divided by section of the grocery store and
ooh,
include
that's good.
quantities necessary. And oh my gosh, Drew, my husband was like, he's never used it. He was blown away because he's like, can you help me make a list? And usually it's like yelling from the other room, like, butter, we need, and it was like all organized and like very clear.
Yeah.
And that was a unique way. And then what was awesome is after it was like, do you want me to give you recommended cooking times and like a like a schedule for the
Schedule.
day? I was like, oh my Lanta. So that was one way. Another way that I used it is that I've been meaning to and wanting to get more into weightlifting. And we're so fortunate.
Ooh.
We have a gym in our house. We have all the equipment. And so I like typed in, I'm 36 years old. I'm a mom of 2. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm comfortable with. These are some of my limits. This is the equipment I have. Can you help me create a weightlifting schedule that will take 20 minutes a day, 3 days a
Mm,
week that will go
mhm.
with my cardio? And it was incredible and it was amazing. Like, and one thing that I thought was interesting is some people would argue, well, there are trainers out there and this is what they study. And I agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah,
But this was the method to get me started, to get me to a place to feel comfortable to invest in the trainer, right?
exactly.
And it's like, just like there's levels of everything where you could go on Google and do a workout for free,
Right.
etc. There's levels of everything. And so it was just an interesting thought. And then another way that I've been using it in my business
Mm-hmm.
is that I have been doing a lot of carousel Instagram posts.
Mm,
And what I will do is I will type in the full story. So I will literally type in the entire story exactly as how I want it to be. And I'll say, help me split this up slide by slide to
right.
make a compelling story for my carousel. I want to start it with a hook. I want to end it with this call to action. Help me take this story
Mm,
and make it a great social media post. And so it's still my words and my story, which it could never come up with without me prompting it.
right.
But it allows me to do it in a way that's strategic, and it allows me to see the gaps in where my storytelling is.
Yeah, yeah. Those are awesome. I love that you're using it holistically throughout your
Yes.
day. I
Yes.
think people are like isolating it just to work, but you can use
Yeah.
it across your entire life. And so even
Yes.
for me, I've had an experience where I had to teach my mom how to use ChatGPT. And so
Yes.
she has a bakery and she has like hundreds of millions of recipes and ideas. And so whenever she has to change something or whenever the cost of butter changes, like anything, she has to now go back and find all of her like paper notes of recipes. I'm like, Mom, this is so inefficient. Like, think about how much time you're wasting. So
Yes.
we literally cataloged her recipes just by taking a picture of them. So you can take a picture and say, please create this into a recipe. And so now she has a digital recipe book for all of her handwritten. I mean, if you were to go to her house, you'd see like recipes on the refrigerator, on like cabinets, just everywhere.
Yes.
So coming up with a structure where she can find the information very easily. And she's like, oh my gosh, I feel so so grown up and so mature. And
Yes.
so, it's like amazing. It also helps you to just be more confident. So that's
Yes.
one way. It is difficult teaching the older generation about using AI. So it took a lot of patience, but it was an amazing experience. We also, for Thanksgiving, went on a road trip. And so I hate driving. I literally hate driving. It's like I'd rather walk than drive. And so we ended up driving from Florida to Virginia. And so it's a pretty long drive. It took us about 13 hours to get there. And so I went to ChatGPT and I'm like, I hate driving, but we waited to the last minute. Spirit Airlines, which is the only airline that goes direct to Virginia, went bankrupt the week before Thanksgiving. So I'm like, okay, I have to drive, come up with a route for me where I don't feel overwhelmed. I could probably drive for maybe like 2 hours and then I need to stop. And it gave me the most amazing roadmap. And it said, stop here at this gas station. I think I also put in, I love Starbucks. It was like,
Yeah.
stop here at this exit because there's a Starbucks right off of the side. Have these kinds of snacks for the girls. You have this kind of car, so you need to fill up. It was just more than I asked for. And so I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. I can do this road trip.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So that was amazing. And then in business, I feel like it's the best first draft. And so
Yes.
for me, I love LinkedIn. But one of the challenges I had early on was like, what is my voice? What do I say? I'm a perfectionist. So I'm like over doing the drafts over and over again. And so I created a custom GPT that has my tone, who I'm trying to reach. And so my first draft is through AI. And so
Yeah.
even if it starts with an idea, it starts with a mood that I'm in, it just helps me get from the blank page to posting in a
Yeah.
much more seamless way where I don't feel like I'm taking too long. I'm like not stressed out about it. So that it's
Yes.
been
Oh,
helpful in so many different ways.
I mean, it's amazing because I think people's fear
Mhm.
around it is that it's going to like replace humans, positions, etc. But what I would argue is that it will help the humans and the personalities shine in
Exactly.
a better way if you leverage it correctly. And it's interesting because me and my team, we've been having like conversations about like, okay, here's when it's appropriate to use it. Here's when I want it purely from the human.
Right.
One of the things that I've been pushing against a little bit in the AI rise is like I am personally writing my emails to my list
Yeah.
and not using any AI. Like,
Hmm.
and there's that differentiation where I think that it can cause people to like have concern or be maybe more like curious as to like, did that
Yeah.
really come from a person or what is that from? And so I think that it's almost a blessing in disguise because you can leverage it in so many ways to simplify, to help you articulate, etc.
Right.
But it also is going to allow those people who want to speak from their heart, who want to just push against the AI culture to really shine because I think people will be craving deeper connection. And
Exactly.
so it's like there's no better time than a time like this to embrace it, but
Yeah.
also really like hone in on what your voice and your message is without it. Would
Exactly.
you agree?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think AI gives you the ability to own your zone of genius
Yeah.
and the tedious tasks that take away from you being able to shine and show up as fully as you want, you can automate those things. I think it also depends on your community and what you authentically want to provide. So there's a lot of people moving to voice AI where they have chatbots that are calling people and they're like doing sales calls. For me, that doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel, that's not something that I would want to incorporate. And so you have to know how you best operate as a business owner and how does your audience want you to continue to show up. And I think that
Yeah.
also dictates how you should use AI. I don't think there's no one size fits all in terms of how you implement the tools.
Yeah. One thing that I think is interesting that I feel like you just like sparked in my brain through this conversation is like in the difference between men and women. And I'm like, ChatGPT is so ugly. Like the page is not very designed. There's zero color. It's so black and white. And I was like, maybe like women are also just like not attracted to it because we're so used to looking at like beautiful visuals and
Pretty
fonts
right.
and things like that. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
But if somebody were to, after listening to this conversation, download ChatGPT or go on to ChatGPT and they're staring at that cursor and thinking, like, what do I even put in? Like, where is a good starting place for somebody that's listening?
Yeah, I think the best starting place is depending on what is the goal you're trying to achieve next. And so if you
Yep.
have a short-term goal, like let's say for instance, you're just starting a business. So if you go to ChatGPT, you're like, hey, this is what I'm leaving and this is what I'm trying to move towards. I want to start a business. Help me to come up with a checklist. Like what are the top 10 things I need to know? Let's say you have been in business for a while and you're like, hey, I'm thinking of selling my business, so help me figure out what are the steps that I need to take in order to achieve that. And so I think because ChatGPT is so expansive and everyone is in different places, one of the things I also love about ChatGPT and AI is it democratizes success. So what success looks like for me and what success looks like for you could be completely different things, but we can still use the same tool in order to figure out how to make that an actual reality in our lives. And
Yeah.
so I would just say if you're ruminating on something, if there's a gap that you're experiencing, go to ChatGPT and just play around with it,
Yep.
and be very smart about your prompting. There's a lot of
Yes.
challenges in terms of people are like, oh, I don't know how to prompt. It's just the way that you would communicate with your mother-in-law, with your sister, your brother, just communicate with the tool and then, leverage the responses to see, if it's working, if that's the response that you want. And then you just keep tweaking it along the way. So it's really
Yeah.
dependent on wherever you are. It's the one tool that meets you where you are.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
what's interesting too is I feel like a lot of people will go in and give it one prompt and they'll see the initial feedback and they think that's it.
Yeah.
And like I will say that anything that comes from me that was leveraging AI, it probably had 10 back and forth of like, I don't like this, let's
Yeah.
replace this with this, or let's change the tone to do this and please include this. Or,
Right.
and so what's interesting is that you literally the better the prompts you give and the more guidance and direction you offer,
Right.
the better the output is. And so I would argue or say, and maybe this is wrong, but like never take the first response. That is the chat GPT garbage that people talk about, where it is just like this regurgitation with no personality. And one of the things that I think can also be incredibly helpful is if you're using it for, say, like frameworks or more strategies and things like that, and it's
Mm-hmm.
something that you're going to share with others,
Mm-hmm.
ask it for places where you can interject your personal stories or experiences
Yeah.
so that people are actually connected to you and not just like the information, because we know how powerful storytelling is and ChatGPT will never be able to tell your stories.
Exactly.
And so I always will like look for opportunities of like, how can I add in my own experience or how
Mm-hmm.
can I add in a story here to really share why this matters. Is that an approach you would do as well?
I always use that approach. The first
Yeah.
response I get, I never accept it. My first
Yeah.
response to the response is
Yeah.
maybe you didn't understand me clearly, so
Yeah.
let's redo this. So I was expecting a 10 response from you, and this is a
Yeah.
5 because of
Oh,
these reasons.
yes.
Because of these reasons.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
please improve on your response so that we can
Yeah.
get to this level 10. And so I
Yeah.
do that back and forth. I do tweak it in terms of where it's off, I'll add the input, but I allow
Yeah.
it to do the work because it's meant
Yeah.
to be a tool. And so the first response is always a 5 for me. I'm like, this is a number, this is a 5 response, and I'm looking for a
Yeah.
10. We're overachievers here. I need a 10.
I love
And
that.
so, yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, is it getting mad at me? Because I was
Right.
like, please, thank you. This is great. Like I'm like thinking like compliment sandwich.
Right.
I like seriously, it's just so funny. What do you think the biggest mistake you see with people when they're trying to like leverage it, say to like automate a workflow or to
Yeah.
simplify a process in their own businesses?
I think the biggest mistake, especially when people are new to using AI, is that they're trying to use it as a magic wand. And so they're trying to automate something that they don't actually understand in their business, And so they're like, how do I automate this workflow? And it's like, you actually don't know what you're trying to achieve through that workflow. Are you
Yeah.
trying to onboard someone quicker? Are you trying to increase your leads? Increase, what does that mean? Is that 5 more people? Is that 10 more people? And so
Yeah.
I see people trying to dive in to AI as a shortcut when you still have to do the work. You still have to know what you want the outcome to be in order for it to be effective. And so
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that I see, and people are like, "Oh, it doesn't work." I'm like, "Well, let's take a step back.
Yes.
What were you
Yes.
trying to achieve exactly?"
Yeah.
And so it's only going to fuel what you've provided it. So if you haven't given it specific, tangible, this is the result that I'm looking for, it's not going to create it for you. It's a
Mm.
coworker. It's a co-founder. I like to say it's a co-founder. It's not going to just give you the answer. You have to work with it and know what you
Yeah.
want in advance.
Did you name your chat GPT? I was on a
I
call with someone
did.
the other day and they're like, Chad. And I was like, who is Chad? And they're like, Chat GPT. I was like, oh, Chad. Okay, got it. Did you name your chat GPT?
Yes, her name is Mary.
Oh,
Yes,
I
so
like that
Mary
better
is
than
so
Chad.
helpful to me. Yes.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so you have a smart framework, and I feel like now is the perfect time to kind of talk about that because I feel like that plays into what we were talking about in terms
Mhm.
of like you have to have that clarity in order to get the help and response you need. So can you walk us through what that framework is?
Yeah, yeah. So I actually came up with the framework because I was continuously working harder, working harder. I was doing a lot of one-to-one coaching,
Yep.
and I was just getting really exhausted. I was getting burnt out. My clients were getting really great results, but I felt like I was starting a new business every time because I didn't have a structure, I didn't have a system, I didn't have a strategy. I was like, okay, this is actually ridiculous. And
Yeah.
so what I did, I reverse engineered the experience I had with my most successful client. And so I used a different tool, which I actually will recommend to you. It's called Notebook LM.
Okay.
And
Yep.
so it was amazing. I downloaded all of the audio files from our Zoom calls, put
Yep.
them into Notebook LM, and I said, what made this an amazing experience? What were the things that I kept doing over and over again? What were the main problems that we achieved? So I literally used the data from my most successful client and reverse engineered it into the smart system. And
Mm.
so what I realized, again, going back to what we were talking about before, is that we're so used to working hard, even when it doesn't produce the results that we want. I'm like, wow, if we could just work smarter and not harder, I was like, oh, it kept coming to me. Let's work
Yeah.
smarter, not harder, smarter, not harder. And so basically the framework, it just mirrored the step-by-step process that I just naturally went through with all of my clients without knowing it at the time. And so for me, it starts with strategic clarity. What are we
Mm.
trying to achieve here?
Yep.
Who are you? What is the value that you can provide? And I think with a lot of different business strategies, we start with a product or we start with an idea. We completely eliminate ourselves, although we have to run the business. We
Right.
eliminate what we do best from the whole scenario, and then we wonder why are we burned out? So it starts with strategic clarity. What are you trying to achieve? What are the valuable resources, the services? What can you actually achieve for someone else? That's where it starts. From there, we move on to your magnetic message. And so one of the challenges I find for people like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to show up. I'm not finding my ideal client. And it always goes back to you don't have a message. So you're basically in the sea of sameness with everyone else, and you're wondering why people are not attracted to you. And so, in that M step of the SMART, the magnetic message, it comes down to who's the one person you can help? What is the
Yep.
one problem you can achieve? What is the solution that you're going to use to achieve that? And what is their dream outcome? So, a
Mm.
lot of times we're stopping at the solution, but we're wanting to have this aha moment and this amazing experience. We have to now push beyond that. What is the dream outcome for that person? And that becomes your message. Because when I'm talking about a dream outcome of someone who wants to work smarter and not harder, people are raising their hands like, oh, yeah, that's me. I don't
Yeah.
have to manipulate them. I don't have to, try to coerce them. Like they know I want to work smarter and not harder. So
Yep.
that gives you also peace about your message and your tone and how you're showing up in terms of social media. Next step is the A, automated workflow. We cannot do things manually anymore. We need like very simple systems, we need very simple operations, and a lot of those factors now can be automated. I agree
Yep.
with you that we still have to bring our stories into our businesses because we do want to stand out, but we don't have to do it the way that we were doing it before. And so,
Yep.
in that level, it's really the marketing, the sales, and the operations. I like to talk about marketing from a perspective of how do I get my dream outcome message to as many people as possible? And sales is how do I offer that person an opportunity to work with me to achieve that dream outcome? And so before, marketing and sales can be very overwhelming for people. And they're like, I don't have a
Mhm.
marketing degree. I don't know the right word. I don't know the platform. But when you think about it, like I have a dream outcome that I want to help people achieve, and I want to give you the opportunity to work with me to do that, then it's like, okay, we're friends.
Yeah.
I don't have to be
Yeah.
stressed about it. I want to help you and I want to help myself as a business owner. So that's now the third step. R is the revenue roadmap. A lot of my clients have so many fragmented offers, they don't align. It's like they're not solving problems. I'm like, okay, we can't make money if we are not offering something of value. And so I
Mhm.
help them to articulate what is your core premium. I also focus on premium because as women, we're leaving a lot of money on the table. So, what
Yep.
is that core premium offer? And how can we, like, if it's $1,000 digital course, what does 1/10 of that look like? Maybe that's a self paced course. How do you 100x that same core offer? How do you 1000x it, right? So it's like the same core offer, but then you're changing the math of it so that you can have a broader audience to offer it to. Last one, the T, it stands for, and I just forget, sorry, traffic engine. And so what I found is that one, we're running our businesses in isolation, and a lot of the pieces are very fragmented. And so you've done okay, I know what I strategically can value. I know what my offer is. I know what my message is. And then it's like, okay, I've done all the work. Now, why aren't people coming? Well, you still have to drive traffic to that opportunity to work with
Yes.
you. And so, is that paid? Is it organic? Is it a podcast? What is it that now also aligns back with your strategic value? What works best for you? So there's just kind of this fluid and seamless cycle that you can just continue to go through, and then everything is just seamless. It just works together. And so that's a 5-step SMART process where you're working smarter, not harder. You're not leaving any money on the table. You're not overexerting yourself to be something that you're not. And I think that's the best place to be in.
Goal diggers, it's 2025 and I have a quick reality check. If your B2B marketing strategy isn't improving your ad targeting, your message just might be getting lost in the noise. But don't worry, I've got a fix for you. LinkedIn ads lets you get specific, and I'm talking really specific. If you want to connect with the decision makers, CEOs, or professionals in your dream industry, LinkedIn makes it so easy to do that. With over 130 million decision makers and 10 million C-level execs on the platform, you can get your ad in front of the exact people who can say yes. And it's not just about who you reach, it's about the results. In the tech industry, LinkedIn ads generated 2 to 5 times higher return on ad spend than other social media platforms. Plus, 79% of B2B marketers say LinkedIn gives them the best results for paid media. It's where serious marketers go to win. Are you ready to give it a try? Start converting your B2B audience into high quality leads today. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/goal to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/GOAL. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be to be. You know that feeling when a new year starts and you are absolutely ready to get organized and crush your goals? Financial wellness is at the top of my list this year and basically every other year, and Rocket Money has been a total game changer for making that happen. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you take control of your money by finding and canceling unwanted subscriptions, monitoring your spending, and even negotiating lower bills for you. They showed me all of my subscriptions in one place, including the ones I didn't even realize I was paying for and definitely not using, and it instantly saved me hundreds of dollars a month. And when they renegotiated my phone bill, that was even more money in my pocket with zero hassle. Rocket Money doesn't just stop there. It tracks all of your spending across every account so you can see exactly where your money is going. And it even keeps an eye on your bills for price increases or unusual charges. With over 5 million users and a total of $500 million saved in canceled subscriptions, Rocket Money members save up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. I am already noticing a difference in my budget just for this year. If you're ready to cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster, head to rocketmoney.com/goaldigger to get started. That's rocketmoney.com/goaldigger. rocketmoney.com/goaldigger. Okay, I love this for so many reasons. And I feel like the biggest thing that I think of when I think of that is that that clarity. And I think so many entrepreneurs are just lacking clarity and the confidence in what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Right.
Where it's like I could see any part of that process, somebody listening and being like, I don't have that clear, or and so I think it's beautiful because it challenges each piece of it to get really crystal clear. And I mean, it's so aligned even in just the AI conversation where it's like the output is as good as the input, right? Like the output is going to match the input. The same thing with our businesses. Like if we do not have that clarity and if we cannot communicate that clarity, that's where we're getting lost. And I think that's why so many women are working so hard and they're like, I'm doing all the things and I'm not getting the results that I thought I would. So I think that is so brilliant. And I also love how you came up with that. That is genius because so many people are doing coaching, or I remember too when I was doing like one-on-one consulting before I'd ever created my online course, and I realized like there's a theme here. Like everyone's asking the same things, and that's how you create the framework. And so now being able to leverage AI tools to really look at conversations, like that's really, really powerful. So I love that. I feel like so many people can take that and run with it. What do you think are like 5 areas of your business? And obviously every business is different, so it can be general, but 5 areas of a business that someone listening could just consider using AI in to simplify or streamline?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely start with marketing. I think that's one of the biggest challenges. Even if you have a subpar product that no one knows about, you're not going to make money. And so that's one of the challenges that we have as small business owners. We really need to do a better job of marketing. And so even if that's just using, ChatGPT to come up with your carousels or come up with content ideas, you come up with a whole content calendar based on one idea and, one thing that you want to achieve. So marketing definitely is an easy start. I would also say from a customer service perspective, I see a lot of small business owners, they've invested a lot of time in creating content. They've created, all these massive websites and blogs and all these different things. But yet when you go to their website, it's very difficult to find information. And so having a very seamless, very easy chatbot on your website where people are able to engage with you without you having to invest that time, that's another great way to use AI because you've already done the work, actually. And so you've already done the work. Allow AI to help you to offer that to your clients. And then that also gives them a sense like, oh, okay, they're on top of things. That gives them a foresight on how it would be to work with you. Admin, like even the most simplest onboarding process could save you so much time and so much energy. I work with coaches and consultants, and the fact that they have to go from like a handwritten paper and then it's like, oh, where was that paper? Where were those notes? And it's like, no. Do an onboarding process that will actually help you stay organized. How to continue that relationship with the client. Data analysis, I think that's another big area. There's so much data that we're not using. If you look at your metrics on social media, if you just look at that data, it will tell you so much. You're wasting time figuring out what should I post, what shouldn't I post. If you just go to the data, it's going to tell you what people like and what they don't like. So we're not using the data enough, and every single tool now has the ability for you to download data, whether it's in an Excel sheet or something like that, and then you can just simply upload that into ChatGPT and start querying it and find out where are the gaps. And then again, I would say kind of the workflow optimization. That for me is critical. And even when I'm thinking about my own, it's so funny. I love posting content on LinkedIn. It's like my favorite
Yeah.
thing. And so I would be posting, I'm like consistent, and then someone would reach out to me and be like, oh, I have a question about this. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And then they'd be like, oh, I'd love to work with you. But that jump from like, oh, this is something amazing you wrote to how do I work with you? It was such a gap. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
I mean, but then I just
Yeah.
said, hey, ChatGPT, I'm doing this consistently. People are taking note. I have a gap here. What is the best way for me to prepare myself? And so it gave me so many different ideas. And so just identifying where those bottlenecks are in your business, where you're leaving money on the table, those would be kind of the 5 key areas all business owners really need to work on in order to grow.
I love that. I'm thinking of so many different ways we've used it. Like, for so many business owners, if you have like a workflow or even email templates, like load them in and ask them to make it better or more
Yeah.
clear or ask it to answer questions better for you. I was just doing that with like our autoresponder when we were going to take a break. And it was like, make sure it's clear that they will not hear from us because you're not in the office. Like,
Right. Yeah.
and just things like that, I think is so powerful. I also love the data analysis. I know so many entrepreneurs are not very savvy or comfortable looking at like their profit and loss statements
Yeah.
or QuickBooks or, some of those like accounting things that can be very overwhelming. And so what's amazing is like you could literally load in some of your insights, like your financial insights from your business and
Hmm.
say like, talk to me like I'm a third grader
Right.
and explain what this data is telling you about my current business. And
Exactly.
that can really help you identify gaps and also do it before like tax time comes around and you realize you're not really making any money. And
Exactly.
I also love like the marketing plan. I know one of my friends, Donald Miller,
Oh,
he
I
went
love
into
Donald Miller.
ChatGPT. Oh, he's amazing. And he went into ChatGPT and he told ChatGPT who he was, how he serves, what his ideology is. And then
Hmm.
he said, give me 52 questions my ideal audience would ask about this topic.
Yeah.
And it spit out 52 questions. And so now each week he aims his content at answering that one question throughout the week. So it could be
Yeah.
spread out over 3 different posts or things like that. And so if you're struggling with like content that actually serves and doesn't just, get likes and comments, like I thought
Hmm.
that was absolutely
Brilliant.
genius.
Yeah.
And then even to like helping answer emails, like a lot of
Hmm.
times I'll get inquiries and they're beautiful and amazing and heartfelt. And like I personally do not have the time to personally respond to every single one. And so once it learns your tone and your
Yeah.
heart, what you want to express, it can
Hmm.
really help you speed up the auto reply or like not the auto replies, but the replies that you're sharing
Right.
with people as well. And then LinkedIn, where you and I met, I will load in what I'm thinking about posting and then I'll be
Hmm.
like, make this more appropriate for the LinkedIn audience. Or even the other day, I'd written this amazing post for Instagram. And then I was like, okay, this works really well for Instagram, but LinkedIn is a
Right.
slightly different audience.
Hmm.
Here's my post from Instagram. Here's who I serve on Instagram. Help me transition this post to a LinkedIn audience. And it took that one piece of content and allowed me to use it on 2 different platforms. So
Yeah.
it's just like, I hope that people's ideas are getting flowing from this conversation because there's just so many ways
There's
to
so
use it.
many.
Oh,
It's
blessed, blessed,
limitless.
blessed. Okay, so what are you predicting like in this new year with AI? Like, what are some predictions or what are some things that we should be kind of watching for as the new year unfolds for us?
Yeah, I mean, I love just the excitement that AI provides. I think there are a billion of us on this earth and on this planet. That means there could be a billion different business models, a billion different definitions of success. And
Yeah.
instead of us having to figure it out in our own little cubicle, like pen and paper, we can use AI to just take whatever dream you have and bring it to life. And, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter where your starting point is. AI is accessible for everyone. And I don't know that we've lived in a time where success is within everyone's reach. And for me, that's exciting because it also makes us more accountable to what we want to achieve, right? So you have to really dig in and say, what is it that I want? And then you use the tools, but it's more than achievable. And for me, that's so exciting. It's so
Yeah.
powerful.
Amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming on the podcast. Where can everybody find you, connect with you, learn more about you, and work with you? Give me all the places.
Yeah, so I actually have one place. LinkedIn is
Yes.
my happy place. So it's
Yes.
my beginning and ending of everything. So if you find me on LinkedIn, Aprelle Duany on LinkedIn, you will be incorporated into my ecosystem of everything AI and helping women to work smarter and not harder.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming on the podcast. This was an
Yeah.
amazing conversation.
Yeah, I've had such a great time and it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I hope today you feel slightly less intimidated and a lot more excited to use AI as we navigate this brand new year. I think it's an amazing tool, and I want to remind you it can never replace you, your voice, and your story, but it can help simplify a lot of life's tasks. I am absolutely loving ChatGPT and finding new ways to use it. And I'm sure this is a conversation we will continue on as everything continues to grow, expand, and change at lightning speed. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Goal Digger Podcast. I would absolutely love to hear what your favorite takeaway was. If you have a moment, please leave us a review or hop onto social and let us know. And if you know someone who could benefit from this episode, please just take a quick second and share it with a friend. They will thank you forever and ever. Amen. Until next time, Goal Diggers, keep on digging your biggest goals. Thanks for pulling up a seat for another episode of the Goal Digger Podcast. I hope today's episode fueled you with inspiration, gave you information that you can turn into action, and realigned you with your true north in life and business. If you've enjoyed today's episode, head on over to goaldiggerpodcast.com for today's show notes, discount codes for our sponsors, freebies to fuel your results, and so much more. And if you haven't yet, make sure you're subscribed so that you never miss a future show. We'll see you next time, Goal Diggers.